Outside the building, we just seen the whole front side of the building just fall.
Boom, boom, that's all I heard. Boom, boom, that's all I heard. Well, somebody had just told me when I was over there, they said it had to be a terrorist because he was outside when the first plane crashed, he heard the boom. And when they evacuated his building, he saw the second plane come. The second plane circled around the building and then saw the building, just went straight into it. He said the second plane knew what it was doing.
First time the first explosion.
We heard the explosion, the whole classroom, it felt like the whole classroom jumped.
You know, there's no way that thing's going to miss the building, or, you know, it's either going to swerve left or right because it's too low to miss the building. And I just couldn't believe it. It went straight into it, and it was obviously intentional. And then, you know, 10 minutes later, a second plane coming from the other direction hit the other building and blew out the other side. You know, I just saw the explosion coming out the second building about 10 minutes later, but...
Could you see what kind of jet it was? Were there any markings? Was it an airliner?
It looked like an airliner. The first one, I didn't see the second plane. The first plane looked like a jetliner, like a 737 you would get at the airport with you know, engines on both sides. It looked like something, any normal jet, like a 737 maybe. You know, engines on both sides. It looked like something.
Were there any markings? Was it an airliner?
It looked like an airliner. The first one, I didn't see the second plane. The first plane looked like a jetliner. Like a 737 you would get at the airport with you know, engines on both sides. You know, engines on both sides. It looked like some, you know, engines on both sides. It looked like some like a 737 you would get at the airport with you know, engines on both sides. You know, engines on both sides. It looked like some.
Later, I started talking with one fella named Bobby Call. And Bobby told me that he had been down about 8 floors, 10 floors, heard the announcement, and had come back up. And as he was telling me this, boom, boom, this
We want to go back to Marcia Kramer, who's in the newsroom, for a further update. Marcia?
Well, we have a number of updates. Number one, CNN is now reporting that there was a third explosion at the World Trade Center, probably an explosion from the ground that caused World Trade Center 1 to collapse on top of itself. Again, there was a third explosion. It's unclear what caused it, whether it was a bomb or whether the first plane that crashed into the tower had somehow been booby-trapped.
Marcia, we understand you have another update.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do. CNN is now, believe it or not, reporting an explosion on Capitol Hill. Fortunately, the explosion happened after Capitol Police had started to evacuate the Capitol. We don't know if any of the senators or representatives were still in the building when the explosion happened, but there is another explosion. That makes 2 explosions and a fire in Washington. An explosion at the Pentagon that we've confirmed was caused by a plane. An explosion at the Capitol, we don't know what caused it, and a fire on the Washington Mall. We don't know what caused that. But the fact that there have been so many attacks would seem to indicate that there are people on the ground as well as in the air that are helping to set off and to participate in this terrorist event. With a bomb that was timed to explode later after the crash had occurred. But CNN is reporting that there was a 3rd explosion that caused World Trade Center 1 to collapse.
With one fellow named Bobby Call. And Bobby told me that he had been down about 8 floors, 10 floors, heard the announcement, and had come back up. And as he was telling me this, boom, boom. And as he was telling me this, boom, boom.
And the bottom of Tower 1, that little hump there, 14 people survived. They looked up and saw blue sky. They weren't squashed.
That are due tomorrow. The memorial is supposed to include a museum with wreckage from the Twin Towers. Meanwhile, the artifacts are being preserved until they can be shown to the public. Beth Fertig of member station WNYC got a look, and she has this report.
The Trade Center wreckage is being housed in Hangar 17 at John F. Kennedy Airport. The gray concrete floors stand in stark relief against the dark red beams and columns that are 30 to 50 feet long, lying down, covered in plastic.
You are looking at some of the largest steel columns and beams that you will ever see in any building around the world.
Charles Gargano is vice chairman of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which owns both the airplane hangar and the Trade Center site. Pieces of steel that once formed towers 110 stories tall were melted by fire and crushed by millions of tons of debris. Their shiny facades are gone, and they lie naked, showing their original red color, bent like spoons and molded into strange shapes. The task of sorting through the World Trade Center remains is being led by Alice Greenwald, the new director of the Memorial Museum. She recalls the first time she saw the beams and columns in an airplane hangar near John F. Kennedy Airport.
My encounter with them was no less than stunning.
One of the oddest shapes is called the compression. It's so valuable that it's been locked inside a tent within the hangar. It looks like a meteorite, and nobody knows